I actually had no knowledge of Maker's Empire and I was already 3D printing. However, I was having a lot of difficulty figuring out how to let students create their own prints. Before starting Maker's Empire, it would have been great to know that this program is going to teach me and my students in a fun and engaging way how to create our own 3D prints and designs.
I actually started 3D printing when the first 3D printers were coming out into the schools. I did a donor's choose and had a 3D printer and had no clue how to use it. So I've gone through a lot of iterations of 3D software, and what I am so thankful for is what is in the professional development for teachers already in Maker's Empire. I had to learn all of that on my own. I had to learn how to use design thinking, how to troubleshoot my printer. I had to go through all kinds of different software that would disappear after you started teaching with it. So I am extremely thankful for what Maker's Empire has provided my students, that consistency along with the professional development that I need and that I need in order for other teachers to use it in their areas of focus.
What I wish I had known before I started with Maker's Empire, is that I wish I had known about it before, because it is a really exciting, very appealing, though its look and feel is also very appealing, and I wish I had known about it before. What I do wish, once I did find out about it, I wish that I would have been quicker to figure out how I can connect it to my curriculum. It did take me a little while, but once I had it figured out, I was ready to move on.
Do the professional development. Even though I had been using 3D printing and 3D software for quite a few years prior to finding Maker's Empire, the professional development really helped me. It helped me to understand how to use Shaper, how to use Blocker, the training lab, looking into the lesson plans and starting to look at what's already out there. I loved the video tutorials. If I was all alone, I would be going to the lesson plans. I would be going to the videos that are there, because there are so many rich integrations that are already in Maker's Empire, that are there for me, that I wouldn't be creating again. No need to create something that's already there. I'm just going to start with it. I'm going to tweak it. It may not be so great the first time around. I like do-overs. And I also, that is something that I teach my kids, is like the first time it's not necessarily going to be successful. It is going to fail. And that's part of the process, and that's part of design thinking, and that's where Maker's Empire definitely has become a tool that I will use and continue to use with all of my learners.
Tip for teachers who are new to Maker's Empire would be to really spend some time playing with the software. Before you ask kids to design something or make something, do it yourself first. This way you can see where the struggles will be, where the flaws will be for the kids. Spend some time learning the ins and outs of the software. How do you join things together? How do you create a whole? How do you move things up and down, left and right? When you're trying to manage a classroom full of kids, you really have to have confidence in your own skills so that you can convey that to the students. Print out a few things. Learn how things move from the software to the printer. Spend some time looking at different design settings and printer settings. You really want to be well versed in the software before you ask kids to do anything. It's not something that you want to be learning as you teach it. Really spend the time and do your own homework and become comfortable so that it's a seamless transition from you doing it to you teaching it.
You need to watch all of the training videos completely. It will help you run your classroom portal and give you tips and tricks and ideas for lessons. Next top tip, go through the training lab with your students and use it with your students and learn how to print yourself.
I love the Maker's Empire blog because it gives me a chance to see, okay, this is what's happening throughout the world using Maker's Empire. You start with the training lab, and definitely, tap into all of the resources that are there, but just start. I think that's the biggest issue is people get intimidated and think that they need to know more than their students. And what I have found in the last few years, especially with 3D design and 3D printing, is that I am never going to know everything. And if I wait and hold back and don't do or use software because I think I need to know it, I will never get forward. It will never happen. Don't get in the way of your students. Maker's Empire really speaks to what students love, how they think, how they design, how they see the world. And just because I don't see the world like they do does not mean that I shouldn't be using Maker's Empire. I believe that it has really changed the learning environment for my students, because there are so many learners who learn in different ways that we haven't been able to bring into the classroom. And 3D design and Maker's Empire do that for my students. My top 3D printing tip is to build a community around yourself. Reach out through Facebook, reach out through Twitter, reach out to when things don't seem like they make sense. My favorite part of Maker's Empire is when something doesn't make sense, I immediately go to them and say, hey, something's not loading right, or this or that, and then I get to be involved in the process of what they are doing. But I also have a really big network of people around me who are passionate about 3D printing or 3D design, that I tap into many times when I don't know what to do. I also follow people so that I can be inspired by their ideas.
You have to learn how your specific machine works. Machines all have their own personality when it comes to 3D printing. And depending on the machine you have, you need to learn what the best settings are for your printer. And you need to learn how to troubleshoot your printer. Learn how to take the nozzles off. Learn how to clean them, because inevitably they will get jammed. Really spend some time printing things. Not big things, small things. 5-minute prints, 10-minute prints. Things that have bridges, things that have rafts, things that have different elements, and see how they come out. 3D printing is like anything else. You need to put some time into learning about your specific machines. And, be ready for setbacks. If you are printing things that take hours long, be ready for something to fail. Fail at the last 20 minutes of a 3-hour print, and shake it off and say, hey, we'll try again. If the power goes out, your print might stop. If you're printing things overnight, you may come back to a big mess of filament. Really spend the time learning about how your specific machine works and reacts, and what it's going to take to make a really good quality print. When you unbox a machine, don't tell the kids we're printing today. Tell the kids that it's going to take you a little bit of time to get to know it. I've found that with my machines, there are some really quirky things that make it work better. I like to use a certain type of glue that adheres to the bed better. I like to set my printing on a slower pace because it just seems to have a better finish. So my number one tip for 3D printing would be to learn the ins and outs of your specific machine.
My tip for teachers who are starting is that practice yourself first and make sure you know that there's a myriad of lessons and lesson plans that are excellent in Maker's Empire. Just look through the community lessons and you will not be bored in any way. You will be very excited.
I would say that my top 3D printing tip is to always go back and check that print and make sure that it's on track. You'll get frustrated when things get off track and it just doesn't print correctly. So always keep checking your print. I love some of the newer printers that have the webcams in them so that you can just watch it from your desktop or laptop, whatever computer you have it connected to. Always check your filament and always level that platform. Most 3D printers just do this for you with a click of a button.
Get a good printer, because my neighbor has one that is one of the smaller, cheaper kinds, and she has only had trouble with it. And I have the Dremel, so 3D45, I think, and it's happens to be a really, really excellent one. I got it through a grant, but it is really top of the line.